Vengeance on Varos is possibly the high point of the Colin Baker years. It's not perfect, there's a lot of gratuitous torture scenes, and the direction is quite flat, but the script is intelligent and witty, and Sil is one of the best characters of the era. So you could say it's the best of a bad bunch. Varos is another one of those dystopian societies that the Doctor takes down within 90 minutes of landing there. It was originally a prison colony, but it's now a mining planet, whose inhabitants have nothing to look forward to when they go home, except watching videos of old men wrestling in their pants. Anyone who rebels is punished on live TV in a string of sadistic tortures, which is very similar to reality TV shows nowadays, where celebrities are put through hell for the entertainment of the viewers. Back in the 80s, you would have only seen this sort of thing on clips from Japanese game shows. So the writer definitely knew where TV was heading, and 40 years later, turns out he was dead right. There is also a running commentary on everything that happens, from a middle-aged couple watching in their home, who never directly interact with any of the other characters, but act as a kind of Greek chorus. Again, this is very ahead of its time. Now we have shows like Gogglebox, which are all about people watching and commenting on TV shows, and not to mention YouTube channels. Don't forget to like and subscribe, by the way. Martin Jarvis plays the governor of Varos. He starts off seeming like the chief bad guy, but in the end he turns out to be just another victim of the system, like all those beneath him. Every decision he makes is voted on by the general public, and he is subjected to painful torture if they vote against him. This would not be a bad idea for our current politicians, to be honest. Although you do have to wonder why anybody would take the job in the first place. Maybe it's like national service or jury duty, and they just pick somebody at random from the populace. The real villain is Sil, played by Nabil Shaban, who has to be one of the most memorable new characters in years. The costume covers his body, but unlike some of the other Doctor Who aliens, his face is free so the actor can give a proper performance. And it's an incredible piece of acting, gurgling and cackling and scarfing down marshmallows and basically stealing every scene. He's not just a one-dimensional bad guy, but a fully realised character, vain and greedy and sadistic. At first it seems like he's just trying to line his own pockets, but later you find he's trying to take over Varos entirely. You may have noticed I haven't mentioned the Doctor or Perry yet. Well, that's because they don't even land on Varos until halfway through the first episode. This is not the only story this season where it takes a while for them to get involved with the other characters. It seems the writers must have struggled with the longer episode format. Thankfully, when the show came back 20 years later, all the writers realised that it was best to get the Doctor involved with the action before the opening credits even started. When the Doctor and Perry do eventually arrive on Varos, they immediately rescue John Dar, who's played by Jason Connery. He is gratuitously topless to get the attention of all the viewers who aren't interested in Perry's cleavage. They spend most of the story on the run with him, pursued by guards in electric carts, which move so slowly they would be better off getting out and running. The level of violence is once again much higher than you would expect from a show broadcast at tea time. Apart from the Governor and John Dar being tortured, which really only shows in their reactions, there's no blood or anything. We also have a scene of a group of characters almost being hanged, and two guards end up drowning in a pool of acid, with their skin burning off, which is pretty gruesome, and it doesn't help that the Doctor makes a James Bond-style quip about it afterwards. Obviously the whole thing was meant as a critique of violence on film and television, but it's possible they went a bit too far and became the very thing they were criticising. Perry doesn't have much to do in this story. There is a subplot where she gets turned into a bird, but that really only lasts a few scenes and makes absolutely no sense anyway. Her torturer is Quillen, played by NIcola and he seems like a blatant copy of Shara's Jack from Caves of Vandrazani, another creepy guy in a leather face mask with designs on Perry. It could just be a coincidence, but probably not. In the end, Sil's plan is defeated, but he lives to come back in the next series, and the whole system of Varos is dismantled overnight. It's not entirely clear how much the Doctor's actions changed anything. He did save John Dar, but Sil's plans would have failed anyway. Possibly his allies would have survived and enabled him to oust the Governor, but who can say. The DVD has about 20 minutes worth of extras. The Blu-ray collection has 2 whole discs worth, but I'll talk about that when we get to the end of the season. There's 10 minutes of deleted scenes, including John Dar explaining why he was arrested in the first place, and an alternate ending with the Doctor and Perry in the TARDIS, which would have been a nice, jokey way to go out. But the actual ending is probably more effective. There's also 5 minutes of behind-the-scenes footage, which is mainly just one scene being recorded over and over again, and a few minutes of outtakes but there's lots more of all of those on the Blu-ray. Overall, a dark and violent piece of satire with plenty of memorable moments. I'll give it 8.5 out of 10. Next week, it's The Mark of the Rani, another story that I don't think I've seen since it was first broadcast 40 years ago. So for all I know, it could be an absolute classic. Press subscribe to see what I think of it now, and I'll see you next time.